Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hey, hey, hey.
And we're back. Sorry we were gone last week, everybody.
Well, we kind of were, and we kind of weren't.
Yeah, we really weren't.
Because I posted the episode on Monday, so there was an episode, but yeah, I know what you mean. We didn't do another one.
Yeah. So we had one episode across 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, it was all Henno's fault. He was like, "Screw the listeners.
True.
I don't want to give them anything." So.
Oh yeah, let's blame Henno.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nah, I kid.
Sometimes you just need to move it over a week.
Yeah.
Exactly. No. It's kind of been a crazy couple of weeks. I will start us off because I want to.
Okay.
So there.
So there.
All right.
Take that.
Yeah.
Take that. Ha.
All right. It's been taken.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started the new job this week. I am in the office full time now,
Wow.
which is interesting. Still amazed at how long it takes me to get ready in the morning. Like before, my normal routine, it would be I get up at 5. I have a cup of coffee. I watch some cartoons. Yes, I'm an adult and I still watch cartoons.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody should feel shame for watching anything that brings them joy.
Exactly.
Unless it's
This
like
doesn't-
something dark, like snuff films or
This
something.
doesn't sound like the lyrics for 9 to 5, though.
It's pretty close.
I'm working 9 to 5.
It's like a variation. She doesn't talk about cartoons.
She did in the extended lyrics version, Henno.
Gotcha.
There you go.
The Gen mix.
Right. The B-side of it had that on it, you know.
But then, I would, 6 to 7, just hang out, have another cup of coffee, whatever. 7 to 8, maybe have another cup of coffee, hang out some more, log in computer around 7:45, start work around 8.
I can't get over that you got up 3 hours before you had to work. I would have been like 7:55. I rolled out of bed, peed, grabbed something to drink, and sat down at the computer. 8 o'clock, I'm logging in.
You'll have to. I don't set an alarm. My body wakes up at 5.
Okay. I was gonna say, what are you doing? Like,
I don't.
No
really
wonder
have
why
a
you're
choice.
asleep by like 6 p.m.
Yes. If I'm lucky, I will sleep till 6. But yes, I haven't used an alarm in years.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
So now wake up at 5, maybe get a cup of coffee around 6 o'clock, jump in the shower, got to do the hair, got to do the makeup, got to make the coffee, got to pack the lunch, got to pack the bag.
I'm going back to bed. I'm tired already.
I know. Right? Yeah.
From 7 o'clock.
Jen's already done more than I do in a day,
Warm up the car, jump in the car, drive to work, get to work around 7:30, get everything all hooked up. So, it's a whole different speed of life, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm doing so much more, and it's just taking a little bit of getting used to. And the new job's going great. It's just a lot of work and a lot of things to learn, which, any new job, that's kind of how it goes. Mm-hmm. So it's living in a constant state of, I don't understand, I don't know, with little moments of clarity. And I have to be okay with that. And I've done it enough times in my life that I know how to manage through it, but it's just it's very uncomfortable, which, everybody experiences that. It's nothing unusual, but you're in a kind of a state of uncomfortableness, because you're not confident in your skill set yet, because you're just learning. And, so you kind of, expanding your brain all day long, and then you come home and then you're running around and doing all the chores, like, dishes and cleaning and picking up the house and all that other stuff that you have to get done that you couldn't get done during the day. So it's just a whole different pace. So
yeah,
just kind of getting used to it. On the upside is I have 2 days off coming up. I have Friday and Monday off. So I have a long weekend, to which I'm going down to Atlanta to go visit with a friend. So me and a good friend of mine and her two, I don't want to call them kids because they're not kids, but her 2 offspring. There we go. That is the new word for them. They're offspring, because they're older offspring.
They're both
not
40.
little ones.
Yeah.
So
Spawn is better.
Spawn. All right.
Yeah.
The Spawn. So we're all going down to Atlanta for a nice little vacation. So that'll be a good time. Yeah, I am super, super, super duper excited about going. It's just going to be great. I get the chance to meet someone that I've been wanting to meet. A good friend of mine that I met through the interwebs. That we've been talking for years now, and it'll be really great to actually get to see him in person. And since we've both had both of our shots, I can actually give him a hug. Yay, hugs! I mean, and it's one of the.
I'm really happy that you're not going to keep giving people rabies anymore. I'm really happy you finally got your shots.
Me too. Yeah. It is about time. Yeah.
I
The
know.
vets have been calling for years.
I know. Like, when are you going to come get this so we can give you your tag?
Yeah. I'll be
Yes,
there.
I have
I'll be
my
there
tag
tomorrow.
now. It's a little heart.
Yeah.
I can wear it on my collar.
You know what? This has got to get up on Etsy somewhere.
Yeah.
Little vaccine tags that look like a rabies tag, but with a dog collar to wear
that
for
would
your
be awesome.
at your next rave.
I like this
They don't
idea
do
a
raves
lot.
anymore, do they? I don't know.
I don't know. Sure. Let's say they do.
Why not?
Yeah.
What? It's an EDM party now. I don't know.
I
What is
have
it?
no idea. Yeah.
The LAN party now.
I don't know.
It's all interwebs now.
The kids still get together and do the dancing to the house music and stuff. So yeah. I don't. But
I don't care how old that makes me sound. That stuff is awful.
Well, in fairness, I've always thought it sounded awful, so I'm with you on that. So,
I know.
I get some of
fucking
it.
hated
Sometimes I'll hear one and I'm like, all right. And most of it, I'm just like, this is just constant noise to me. But I also know, I think part of it is misophonia, because anything that's super repetitive, I can't handle. And a lot of that music has a good amount of repetition in it, and I just can't handle it. So, or it's just me being an old man. Take your pick, whichever.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
For me, it's just crap music. I'm sorry for anyone out there who does appreciate
Jen's
it. I'm
out
sure
here
there's pieces of it that I'm just not picking up. So I
No.
blame myself.
No, it's just not for you. That's all.
Yes, it is not for me.
Yeah.
My brother was into it for a while, and yeah, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm. So, anywho, we just went on a whole little train trip. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm trying to think what else I went through. Oh, I had another follow-up visit with my psychiatrist, and I had to do another test for the lithium, and my levels are where they're supposed to be. So I'm still not experiencing what I hoped to get from it.
Yeah.
But
And you talked to the doctor about that, right?
I did.
What was his response, if you're okay with sharing?
Yeah, he said that really this is the best option that we would have, and that he just felt that it was I need to work through it type of a thing. Like
So does he feel like you should just give it more time and see if something?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and he had me do the test to see if I needed to be upped or anything, and I'm low, but I'm within the right levels. So he didn't want to up it any more than where we're at.
Okay.
So basically, I've got to just keep trugging at it and keep working at it, and just stay. It's tough because I'm really right now my my impulse control is very low. So it's difficult, but I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
Yeah.
Type of situation. And I recognize it. I admit to it. I own it. So hope that all those pieces kind of help to just help to keep it in the forefront of, making those choices. It's like when I go to make a choice, I have to really stop and think about it. It's like, okay, is this the best choice?
Yeah.
So, and just being very deliberate.
Well, that's good. If it's just like anything we talk about on here, if you can catch yourself, and if you can give yourself that moment of pause to think, that's what a lot of times gives us the opportunity to make the better choice for ourselves, rather than, listen to that impulse in our brain, which we both, well, not both, which we all know, has that tendency to be a filthy, filthy liar at times.
Yes, it does.
So,
and I'm only batting about 60 to 70% right now.
hey, in baseball, that's Hall of Fame. I mean, that's all-time numbers. So
Yeah. So
in school, not so great.
I'm trying, and yeah, I'm not doing the best I've ever done, but I'm still working at it, and that's all I can ask of myself, and
you're still
forgive myself.
You're still new to working at it too. So you
Yes.
do have to. I'm not trying to like give you cushion to fail, if you know what I mean. But it's, but I also am. It's more of a giving you cushion to be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. Oh, I'm not 100%. So blah blah. It's like, hey, it happens. It's why, like, we've talked about recovery and stuff, and that's why it's 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at whatever number you have to use.
Yeah.
Same if you're losing weight or whatever, if you have a bad day, well, just, try to do better next time. And that's all you can do. So.
Exactly. So, and just keep working at it.
Yep.
So that's what I got.
All right.
Who wants to go next?
I will. I was supposed to have therapy this week, but my therapist had to reschedule again, and it sucks because I really like her, but I haven't been in therapy in a while, and some of it's my fault and some of it's COVID, but I have to keep rescheduling, and it sucks because, if I call and I'm like, hey, I absolutely have to have therapy, they'll get me somebody, but I don't want to start fresh again, kind of a thing. And if I get just anybody else, yeah, they might be able to kind of, if nothing else, they can still be that info dump, that I would need, but they don't know anything about me. So they're not going to be ready to really help me aside from going, hey, whatever you say here is safe, go ahead, and there is something to that, but it isn't the same as at the end of it, they can go, okay, well, I've been seeing you for this much time. I know you tend to this, this, and this, like I've had in the past where my, both therapists that I've had have seen a trend in me and pointed it out and I didn't realize I was heading that way. That's what I'm looking for. Somebody that can help me, if I don't see it myself. So I'm going to call tomorrow to reschedule, but it sucks because I need it and I want to go. And when you can't, it's tough. And the longer it is, that first session almost becomes, how much can I cram into this 45 minutes or hour? And in the end, it ends up not, it's helpful, but it's not as helpful, because it's more like, I just got to say all this stuff instead of, normally I try to kind of go in and go, okay, I'm going to talk about this today, or, like have a loose game plan, like if we end up going a different way, that's fine too, but it's like I at least, or if there's something like, hey, I have to talk about this. And there is, I want to talk about my issues with food, and it's something I haven't brought up at all in therapy. So, but I also haven't been in a session in months now, so it almost feels like, in a way, it's not starting over, but you feel like you kind of have to go through the catch up first before I can get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on. So, it's, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might have to find another therapist. As much as I like this one, I may have to ask for someone else, because I just, and like I said, I'm not saying it's all her, because it isn't. It's mostly me, because I've rescheduled, or, because of COVID, I've been trying to hold out for an in-person session. And because the phone ones don't do anything for me. Otherwise, I might have tried something like BetterHelp or, one of those therapist apps out there. But they don't really do much for me. So, anyway, so that aside, it's been a pretty quiet week. Like, it's been nice, because the last couple weeks, I felt like every day, every other day, there was something we had to go do, whether it was, the vaccinations, or it was just, going to the store, running around, going to doctor's appointments. It just felt like there was always something. And I was getting to, when there was a day I didn't have anything, I found what I was doing was basically sleeping all day, because it was just, it's more than I'm used to, and but it also, I noticed my anxiety was running high. I actually found myself having to take my anxiety pills a little more, and which is fine. That's what they're for. That's, to be, hey, I can't seem to calm myself down via, I always try to go through breathing and stuff like that first. And if that doesn't work, then it's like, okay, well, I'll try this. So yeah, it's just been, and this week's been a little frustrating too, because our weather has literally been up and down here. And whenever it does, as I've talked many times on here before, I get sinus headaches. It's like today, I've had a sinus headache that it let up a little while ago, but it was pretty brutal most of the day. So I was just last night into today, because we were getting snow. I think once that system the precipitation kind of moved out, I think that's when it finally lightened up for me. So, it's just, it really hasn't been a bad week, but it hasn't been a great week. It's just been a week, as far as I was trying to think of what my win for the week would be, and I don't, honestly, what I think it would be is the fact that I've even remotely considered a different therapist, because of how much I hate the idea of having to start over, and that just will build so much anxiety. But I also know, I know what tools I need at my disposal, and I have to have them. And therapy is still one of them, so I got to figure out something there. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of anything else. I've listened to a lot of podcasts this week. That's
Well, something I didn't mention is I actually have a therapist now, a talk therapist. So, I go for the first time on the 29th. I will let you know how it goes. And, Brian, if you're interested, it's,
Yeah.
I told you where it's at.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know how it goes, and if they do in person or if they're still doing tele and all that other jazz.
Yeah, good. Well, that's good
So.
too, because like you were saying, if you're struggling with, your temptations and whatnot, that's where therapy can really come in, because to help you, like you said, if you can recognize what's going on and whatever, then they can help you with, adding tools to the toolbox for those times. So hopefully you'll find that, and it'll hopefully make the scenario easier for you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
Yeah. Like I said before, I've said many times on here, it's like, if not, just sometimes that info dump can just be so cathartic, just so, like, your shoulders just feel lighter. Like for me, so like I said before, that's my judge of whether or not I still need therapy. If I walk out of there and I'm feeling lighter, it's like, okay, that did me good. If I walk out and I still feel heavy, it's like either I had a whole lot on me or maybe this isn't, but it's not necessarily I have to quit it or move to someone else. It's like maybe it can also be, did I approach the topics I needed to approach?
Yeah.
And like it stinks that you only get that short time, when really, like, somebody like me, it's like 2 hours would be perfect for me, because of the way my brain works. Is it's so kind of here, and it would just be easier for me to work in that kind of time frame, but that's not doable. So I just have to take what I can, and that's why that's why I usually try to have a game plan going in, because if not, I'll be all over the place. So how about you, Henno? How was your week?
Let's see, what's been going on? Been having really productive at work. That's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Spring stuff, getting outside and getting messy and playing in the pond, and
yeah,
doing some roofing stuff. That was kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So that's felt good.
Want to come?
I've been tired.
Want to come do our roof?
No, I was painting on the roof.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would rather actually do drywall than roofing.
Yeah,
I think was telling the roofers that.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people would rather do drywall than roofing. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause Omar and I were up there. They went up there and they painted one. It's just this trim that goes all the way around the roof, and they painted it all with brushes. And I'm just like, all right, we got the sprayer for a reason.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, how long did it take you? Like 4 hours. I'm like, we did it in 45 minutes on the next building.
Maybe they just wanted a relaxing day of painting, you know?
Yeah, they're like, it's too thick. I'm like, did you try it? No. I'm like, okay, that was the whole point of bringing this thing in.
So you don't know that it was then. Yeah.
So yeah, it was great though. But Omar hates painting. It's like his least favorite thing to do at work. So all the roofers are up there. I'm like, hey, did you tell them that you hate painting? He said they're asking, do you want to do some roofing? I'm like, I'd rather drywall.
Yeah. Like no.
Like A, too old.
Yeah.
B, too old. C, too old.
Yep.
But
no thanks.
Had a great conversation with my mom yesterday. I haven't really talked about it much on the podcast, but I talked to Brian I think the last time actually we podcasted, and I'd had the conversation with my sister. It came up because of some other issues with my parents' house being in a trust and some laws in California. But since the topic came up, we kind of, my sister and I talked about just like, okay, so what's going to happen when mom's had enough? You know, where she's 86 years old. Mm-hmm. My grandmother lived to be 93. What took her down was eventually breaking a hip. Yeah. But up until that moment, she was on her own, you know, doing her thing. And my mom's like that too. But it was that we don't know what's going to happen. And it was really so. I was so grateful that my sister and I could have this kind of conversation just openly and honestly and just say which one of us is willing to do what and to be, and no guilt, no nothing. But I hadn't shared it with my mother. And so we were on the phone yesterday and I had already kind of thought about bringing it up with her, and she just like gave me the perfect segue. Like she just kind of said, there's times where I really wish you were around here. And I said, well, now that you said that, like there's something that I'd like to talk about, and that is, what happens when you finally said I need help.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen, and that will be like I will basically walk into work and give 2 weeks notice and say I'm going to California to help my mother, and we'll figure it out. And it was, again, something that my parents were pretty, they were really diligent. They created this trust about, setting things up for the future, but it's not like something that we live life. Our family really, truly does live life day to day. Nobody gets, too down or too morose or whatever into these things. So, and as a result, we don't necessarily talk about it. And this thing we've never talked about. And so by the time I got done with the conversation, my mother said, you know what? I feel really good right now. And she said, thank you. And it's not so much about what's going to happen, which is part of it, but just the fact that we had a conversation and there is a plan.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, it's happened. Now what?
Yeah. Alleviating that anxiety and worry about that is nice. Yeah, it's good for both of you. Like you said, having that talk
definitely
with your sister made you feel better. Now having the talk with your mom, now everybody knows the plan, kind of or like have at least had that initial conversation. So that's good.
And your mother would never dream of asking you to come home and come back to California, but the fact that you kind of offered. Oh yeah, she would made a huge difference to her.
Exactly. It was the last thing. I think it's the last thing she'd ever thought about. Yeah. About that. That's what would happen. Mm-hmm. I think the assumption would be, well, my sister would help her because she's there.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the right assumption. Mm-hmm. And so it was great to just kind of talk this stuff out. And like you said, Brian, it's just like, it's so nice to know that it's a no-brainer at this point.
Yeah.
And it makes things really easy. And my mother will still, wait, she'll be well past when she needed help before she finally asks for help.
Yeah, of course.
That is going to be the case.
I think most of us would probably be that way,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, there's ramifications that come with it, but I honestly, none of that matters. All that matters is that that we've made some decisions, and they're important decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And then I had my win for this week was, so last week there was a band thing. We're still working on this album, and all of a sudden I got a message about what they wanted to do with a particular song. And it was literally rewriting the song. And I'm like, nope. All the no.
Yeah.
Like, there's no. I'm like, I recorded my bass part 10 months ago, and I'm happy with it. I'm not re-recording it. And it was great because I've been really, really lackadaisical about this thing. I have not had much interest in it. And this got me fired back up. I'm like, no, let's get this thing done. And one of the things I did is I stated that as long as we don't have a gig, I'm working on this and not doing rehearsals.
Yeah.
And that's my desire. And I got a text message this morning asking me if we were going to rehearse on Thursday and next Thursday. And I could not come up with a single response that I didn't end up sounding passive aggressive.
Yeah, I imagine so, especially given that you've already
I made my request.
Clear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was my desire, my wish. And for all intents and purposes, it was ignored.
Yeah.
And at first, because it was like everything was the trade-off conversation, and I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I actually started text, and then I just started doing it in my head, and it was funny how it's like in war games where they play out the tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
And it's like that was happening in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, passive aggressive, hypocrite, yeah, passive aggressive, and just over and over and over and over again.
Heno was just demonstrating what I've said for years to people about a lot of times when I go to make a comment to somebody that there's literally a Rolodex in my head. And the first thing that pops into my head a lot of times be like, too harsh, click, and it just, yeah, there it is. And then, it's, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And in the end, I just said, okay, what's our goal? And I got a huge paragraph about, why we should do this. And I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm there.
Yeah.
And basically not doing the same thing in response, which is, okay, well, yeah, that's your desire, but I will listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's by not saying anything, however, by not responding, by not escalating any of it, I had a moment of clarity. And it was about desires and wishes. And that if somebody expresses a desire or wish, you either acknowledge it or you don't. There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
The minute you start a negotiation with the person who expressed the wish or desire, you have said, no, I don't accept your wish, or I don't acknowledge your desire.
Yeah.
And especially when I didn't phrase it like, what do you think? I phrased it as a definitive affirmative in the affirmative that this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't and I don't know when or how, but I will say something about it.
Yeah. And I think that's fair though, because like you said, you guys have always, from what I've gathered, is you each are supposed to have a voice in this band. And if you don't have a voice, then that's how band. Boy, I had to catch myself. That's how band stuff happens and escalates.
Yeah. Yeah, and here, this is the thing: is it's not the first time that this has happened,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really. I got very agitated today by it. So that I will speak my truth. I will use that phrase, which I can't stand, but it's so applicable.
Yeah.
Because the truth is my wishes and desires were completely brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask a question? Because this I don't remember. Do you guys do things in a we only do it if everyone agrees, or is it like, hey, you got outvoted?
Not in this case.
Okay.
This ends up being individuals.
Okay.
So it's not like that.
Okay.
It's not like a gig, or gigs are done that way.
Okay.
You know, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah. But
Yeah.
not like this. This was, yeah. And so yeah, my win for the week was actually not saying anything, because it allowed me to find some clarity, and it led me to look for a topic on this. And even though what I found wasn't what I wanted to find, I still thought it was pretty cool. And let's see, where's my topic? Where'd you go? Oh, that's not it. There's my topic. These are the times when you should not say anything. And this is actually from lifehack.org. It didn't go into what I wanted to go into, but I still thought it was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It starts with, silence at the appropriate moment can speak louder than words. Keeping quiet displays the wisdom, emotional maturity, and confidence that will lead you to success. Here are 11 instances when you should not say anything. 1, when the other side misunderstands and you don't have a duty to talk. Which that actually confused me at first. It explains it. Why waste words when the other side is not making the effort to understand what you have to say? And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that silence can never be misquoted. So like if you're having a conversation, this is what I took from it. If you're having a conversation with somebody and they're completely misunderstanding what you're trying to say, everything that you do say can just be misquoted or used against you, because they literally don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I take it. And honestly, that's how I do get out of most arguments or disagreements, is I just stop. And I'll even tell people, I'm like, I'm done. You're not hearing me, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah. And
you just stop. And
you can't have a tug of war by yourself.
Yep.
Although people try.
Yeah, people will try. Yeah.
Oh, people have followed me. I stop and I won't say anything else, and I'm like, or I'll say goodbye, and I'll end the situation, and people will follow me to continue the conversation, and I'm like, no, you don't get it. Goodbye, done.
How's that one party tug of war working out for you?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not doing
great.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the number 2 is when two parties are arguing. And I assume this means when two other parties are arguing.
Oh, yeah, that's I was going to say,
It says, the description says, don't get involved. If you intervene, you may come under fire. Which is very true.
That's a
great one.
The only caveat I would say in that is, like, if somebody is like being threatened or wronged in some way, maybe step in. But otherwise, I know what it's saying is, if it's just two people arguing over whatever, something that you just have no business in, just stay out of it.
Yeah. Because it is awfully appealing, when it's one of your friends or something like that. And now the other person maybe feels like they're being ganged up on, or the third one is so great. When you have no idea what you're talking about.
But that's the best time to get involved in something.
And the description's
I
awesome.
would literally never talk if I didn't talk when I didn't know what I was talking about.
Like the first the description says empty vessels make more noise, and it's true.
Oh man, it's so true. Yeah.
Like I thought that was the best descriptor. An empty bucket is a lot louder than a full bucket.
I will put lipstick on my posterior for how many times I talk out of it.
You're not alone either. The world would be a much quieter place if we all took that advice.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Number 4 is this. I had another great one I never even thought about. When you need someone else to get the credit.
That one is interesting because I've actually utilized that a lot in work situations where sometimes it's the words coming from another person will speak louder than the words coming from yourself. So whether it's a person of position, whether it's a person of, of higher respect level, whatever it is, I've given information to others to share with groups because it'd be accepted that way.
Yeah, like their words carry more weight than yours would.
Yeah.
Or coming from them, I mean, not their words. But.
Exactly. Coming from them. So, which royally stinks, to be honest. It really does. Because a lot of times it comes when you have really good ideas and things like that you have to give to somebody else and let them basically take credit for it, just to get the bill passed, just to get.
Well, it's like it says here in the description, it's about, it's about big picture. It's about the long run, and that you are showing quiet confidence in your abilities when you smile and let your boss or team leader take the credit for your work.
Yeah. Because
you're creating goodwill for the long run. And I really, it's a hard one for people to do. It really is. But I think it is like that, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said right now by me?
Yeah. Well, it's really
not
tough.
Always.
It's so tough though, because you're groomed to want to get that credit, because if you don't, the people who keep doing things that get the credit, you see them moving up. Sometimes, the quiet ones aren't generally the ones getting promoted. So you kind of need that credit yourself, but there are times where it's just better to just,
Yeah, now granted, you have to look at this, like, if this has been going on for years, where other people are taking credit and they keep, and you don't get to advance, then maybe it's time for you to make a decision.
Right.
However, my theory is anybody that is like that, they eventually get it in the end.
Yeah.
Karma happens.
Yeah.
And it won't happen always immediately. It might take a year. It might take a couple of years. But no matter what, people that are like that blow themselves up eventually.
Because sooner or later it becomes they take credit for everyone else's ideas, and at some point somebody will look at, hey Bob, you're always the quick with the ideas. Let's bang out a few ideas. Yeah, what do you got?
But just to kind of even go along with what you were saying about, does it need to be said by me, does it need to be said right now? That theory, but which I'm a huge fan of, and that's why I added my own, which is, does this further my goals?
Yeah.
And that's so applicable in this situation, because you have to stop and think. It's like, what do I hope to accomplish? What is my goal? If my goal is to move this team forward, it doesn't matter if I'm the one saying it or somebody else is saying it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Then that's the goal that I'm aiming for. Then this is what needs to happen. It happens.
Yep.
And it's basically that is asking us to demonstrate some humility.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See, number 5 is when you are bragging instead of sharing.
That's a tough one, because it's a very fine line, and it's difficult to know when you're crossing it, because you'll start with sharing in a lot of cases, and it turns to bragging real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to, it's like, where does that stop?
And there's also the element of, if you say, like, other people can, read your, like, sharing as bragging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're happy that something good happened to you and you're sharing that, if they could, like, maybe they're not having the same luck and they look at more like you're rubbing it in their face, even though, I know that's a them problem, but it's still the idea that it's like, it's an interesting scenario, because really the difference between sharing and bragging really depends sometimes on which side of the fence you're on.
Well, sometimes it's also just phrasing.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
It's
like,
one
man,
thing
my
to
luck's
say,
way better than yours. Yeah.
or like, well, that one time where I completely kicked butt and made this office $1 million.
Yeah, that's
by
sharing.
doing this thing, versus saying, hey, the last time I had this, I came across this, I did this.
Yeah.
But with leaving all the extraneous awesomeness behind. Well, but it's like that idea of, like, let your work do the speaking for you.
Yeah.
Just point to the scoreboard and say,
I was
see that?
Just
see
gonna
that
say,
up there?
Just gonna say, yell out scoreboard if you're gonna say anything.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Number 6, when your comment is more about you than others.
Which you kind of just covered because
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because that is kind of what that is also.
Yeah, I love the little description is there. Check yourself when you are not including others or letting them express themselves, as they will get bored of your narcissism, and you will soon find yourself isolated.
Yeah. Does the paragraph you just rattled off only contain the words you or I, me? You know?
I like this one, number 7, when you want someone else to grow. So some people will criticize you just to provoke you into an argument. Don't allow them the pleasure. Take the high road and show restraint. They are coming from a point of weakness themselves and would love to see you react negatively. Being silent makes you more powerful. It was different than what I thought at first. I thought it was like we're going to lift somebody else, but it's a way of allowing that other person to realize that maybe, but there's no guarantee about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
People that want to grow, it's up to them whether they want to grow.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is that if they like to stay in the bottom and not grow, why should you hang out there with them?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say what it reminds me of is you ever have those scenarios where like someone will say something and if you respond, you end up being the jerk, right?
Yeah.
So if you just shut your yap, that's it. That's the end of it. They're the only ones who've made a negative statement, and meanwhile, you've just not done that, and then you don't end up as looking like you don't give them the room to make you look like a jerk. You're just like,
and that goes goes back to the misunderstanding one.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I think a very important lesson that I know we've talked about before on the podcast, which is you cannot teach someone who's not willing to learn.
Nope, that's it.
So it's a two-way street. They have to choose to learn. If they're not involved, this particular case is opting out.
Yeah, you're not participating in this endeavor of stagnation.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it. And so many times we forget is you have that choice of doing nothing, saying nothing, and just walking away.
That's what came up with me today was just this idea of no action is an action.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And it's acceptable. It's okay. And a lot of times we don't see it that way. We're like, I have to say this, or I have to step in, or I have to do this. It's like, no, you don't have to do anything.
Well, and to me, this goes back to the silent vessel comment, because people don't understand that silence can be a barrier. And I don't mean like something you have to overcome as much as I mean it as you can say, leave the silence is your line, right? That you're not going to cross
shield
either. Not even a shield necessarily, but you're just saying that like, you made your comment, but I'm not going to cross my line to come meet you. I'm just going to stay here. And, and like you said, it's an action. It's choosing to, just, maybe acknowledge, but ignore the breeze at the same time. Just watch the leaf and you don't have to grab at it,
Number 8 is when the other party in negotiation starts debating against itself. And I've experienced this. I've been on the other end of like a text exchange where the person was like, I wasn't responding and they just kept going.
Yeah.
And after a while I was like, okay, don't ever contact me again. You just absolutely had a debate with yourself that I did not contribute to.
Yeah.
and it was a little disturbing.
Yeah. I feel like this one ties in very much with the when people don't know what they're talking about one also, because a lot of times when you have someone who has like half fact and they come at you armed to the teeth with half fact, they will talk themselves in a circle because they don't know the whole thing. So at some point they're out of things that they read on Facebook. So then they start just saying other things that they've read or whatever. And you're just like, well, you said the other, how can you, like, So it's yeah.
They in this particular instance, they were actually going from the standpoint of negotiation, which is use silence as a technique in negotiation.
Yep.
When people are trying to they're valuable with silence, and therefore will reveal more than they should.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's
like,
so true. That's why if you ever go for a deposition, that's why you get counseled by your lawyer ahead of time. Like, you only answer what they ask you. Do not give anything else. They, like mine even said, they won't say anything just to see if you'll keep talking.
You'll keep going.
The police will do it as well, because it's like you said, it's a negotiating tactic to get more out of people. And I don't know how many times I see it just in regular life. When one person's talking, if the other person doesn't really say much, how many times have you seen another person just keep talking? Like, they'll tell a story and it's done. The other person won't say much, and then that person will start giving more and more details about the story. Almost like, well, you clearly didn't hear me, like it's like repeating a joke almost, like you didn't give me laughter, so clearly you didn't hear it, so I'll have to, But so many people will just keep giving and giving and giving, and you're just like, okay, shut up. They don't care, How many times, think about this, how many times have you eaten out and been with somebody who, when the server shows up, they tell the server basically their life story? Right? And you're like, just shut up and order the food. Like, they don't care.
It's great.
But it's true. Like I said, the deposition one is the real one, because when I got the one time that I went through it and I sat there, they did that. They'd ask me a question, I'd answer it, and they'd sit there, and I just looked at them at one point and I'm like, that's all. And then they went on to the next question. It's like they were doing it on purpose. They knew I was done. They could tell I was done, but they were hoping I would keep talking, and nope.
Nope.
Because as soon as I got out of the meeting, the first thing my lawyer said to me was like, you did great.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. He's like, at no point did I feel like I needed to kind of, tap your arm or something and be like, all right, that's enough,
Reel it. He wasn't doing the old fishing thing with his hands, miming. Yeah, exactly. Like,
he's in the corner, like,
So number 9 is when you want to avoid angry outbursts, and I know we've talked about this plenty, about having some, emotional self-control can save you from damaging your relationships. And we've talked many times about various techniques to avoid angry outbursts and why it's worthwhile, and which kind of slides into number 10, which is when you want to listen to your inner voice. And I really like that one, is that sometimes when there is a major decision in front of you, a lot of times we'll sit there and we'll just keep talking and talking and talking and talking.
Yeah.
Whereas what really needs to happen is maybe to just sit in some silence for a little while.
Oh man, that is so funny, because now in my head I go back to the someone talking in a circle concept, and the fact that you can do this to yourself.
Yep.
Right? Because you know how it is, like when you're like trying to make a decision sometimes, in your head you're wanting to do the plus minus column, but you end up not doing that. You end up, like, it's almost like for every plus you have to find a minus, versus just allowing there to be 10 pluses and 4 minuses. It's like, oh, I gotta balance this. So you just keep talking yourself so you'll talk out of it to make, because it's like, well, I don't want to miss anything, so I gotta make sure every little point, and so I think it's really interesting that you can do that, where again, the goal is if you can calm your mind for sake of clarity, it can help you make a decision rather than just talking yourself in a circle.
Yeah, I really think that my intuition is not able to kick in until I shut up the itty-bitty committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's honestly why a lot of times if I'm making a big decision, I want to talk to someone else. Because like Jen and I, for years, have had a, forgiving the term, it's like we would do the am I crazy, or is this mental illness kind of talk, because we'll like, this is what's going on, this is what I'm thinking, like, am I having an appropriate reaction to this, basically, because sometimes once you're so deep in it, like you said, and that other person sometimes can they break your cycle of that loop. And when they do that, then you can go, oh, okay, now I can, kind of focus here again. Cause it's, like I said, when you're in that cycle, whether it's depression or anxiety or whatever, fueling it, or just, just normal, whatever, it can make it to where it's really hard to just think, or you think you're thinking, but you're not, you're actually overthinking,
Yeah.
in a bad way. Actually, you're not even that, you're ruminating at that point.
That's it. It's true.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
word for that.
You're beyond actual thought into rumination,
Yeah.
which is, hey, I've heard it's on that distorted thinking worksheet.
Thinking maybe it might be on that list.
I've heard.
And our last item is perfect for a life hack, and I wish some of my coworkers would learn from this. It has been the greatest gift for me as far as something that makes work easier when things don't go so good, and that is when you receive negative feedback from your superiors, accept it quietly, assess it, learn from it, improve, and grow. Nowhere in there does it say defend yourself, make excuses, because if you are getting a write-up, if you make up excuses, if you try to defend yourself, you still end up in the same spot, which is signing a piece of paper. And in the meantime, you may have made things worse by coming across as obstinate or arrogant or not a team player. And like my own personal experiences is when I was told I was getting written up, I walked right in, I looked at the paper, I signed it, I turned around, and I walked out.
And then there's me, the complete opposite of what Heno just talked about, which is one write-up I did that on 100%, which was there was a night I told I'm the shift leader, I told someone to go lock the door because we were closed. She didn't do it. I never double checked it. I came in the next day and found out that the store had been unlocked all night. And thank goodness nothing got stolen. But the manager was like, write-ups on the back counter. I said, absolutely. Walked over. Here you go. Because no arguing on that one. I 100% was at fault because I ran the shift. I ultimately am responsible, even though I'm not the one who did it. I didn't, and instead of going, well, I didn't even do that.
Yep.
Because the manager even was like, that is not like you. And I'm like, well, I told the coworker to lock it. I didn't go check it. Usually I do. For some reason I didn't. I screwed up. Yep. It's my right. Now, granted, both of us got written up, but even if the other person didn't, I wouldn't have argued it. I would have just taken it. It's my fault. Ultimately, I'm responsible for the shift. So, I know that. Another time, though, the manager wrote me up. The company policy was you could get a write-up if you were $5 over or under on your drawer. I was 3 cents off, and she decided that her policy was that you would get written up for that. That one, I not only didn't sign, I argued with her. I called the district manager. And
3 cents.
And the district manager told her and me to rip up the write-up because it was ridiculous. So
That's great.
The difference is I'm very much listen, I choose too many hills in my life. I have way too many times have I chose a hill to die on. I'm a good enough employee that one random write-up here and there, who cares? No one's ever going to really notice these, because when someone, maybe they have enough to fire me, but generally they're going to go, yeah, but he's always does the right stuff. He's a good worker. You know what I mean? It's like I build up enough credibility that really wasn't, it's like having 10,000 feedback on eBay and you get one negative, it's like, you're fine, Yeah,
you'll be fine. Yeah.
Now, what it ended up doing was causing a major rift between me and that manager because she didn't like the fact that I went over her head, So in the long run, it caused me more grief than it was worth. But the problem was for a long time, and it's something I will always fight, is if I know I'm right, it's maybe the worst thing in the world because I am relentless when I know I'm right. I won't. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Whew. Thought it dropped something. But if I know I'm right, I'm such such a like obstinate jerk sometimes about it. And I don't mean like in a normal conversation as much. I can be, but it's more like in that kind of scenario. Like if you're going to try to tell me I get a write-up for blah, 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 and I'll be like, show me in the employee handbook where it says that. Show me in the rules where it says that. You can't, as a store manager, you can't just make up rules. I know that. And it's like once I know that, I'm digging in deep. And it also didn't help. I didn't like that manager because she was a terrible manager. But
I would do the same thing if somebody was just very arbitrary with how they applied policy.
Yeah.
And that's when I speak up at work.
Yeah.
And it's usually not for me. It's usually when it's being applied to somebody else and I overhear it and I'm like, no, wait a minute here. Like that's not what, especially, that's the part I hate the most.
I do it
especially
too.
when a general manager was the one that wrote the freaking policy and he was applying it wrong.
Yeah.
And I literally overheard it and I was like, excuse me? And it was because there was one of the young guys. He's not going to defend himself. He's going to take his word for it. I'm like, no, that's not what it says. And of course, I do not care if I get the look from the GM at that point.
And that was my thing is I very much have been the type that no matter what job I had, if something don't chew right, I'll say it. And there's definitely, going to the, does it need to be said? But I was young. I did not have my temper in check the way I feel I do now. There were a lot of things that I was a very different person then, but some of that stuff will never go away. Like if I think someone's wronged, I have a hard time shutting my mouth. Or if I think I'm being wronged, I have a really hard time shutting my mouth.
There's
for good or bad.
Is there something, and I know this is the perspective is huge in this is where you're coming from, but if there's a place where you can do better, like if honestly there is some way that you can do something better, then I consider it a write-up is an opportunity. You didn't get fired.
Yeah.
You didn't get suspended. Nobody told you to go home.
Yeah.
We're just documenting the fact that there's a place for improvement here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm baffled at the excuse making I hear at work when it's an observation is being made and you're being given an opportunity to make it better. And there's just this arrogance that goes with it. And I'm just like, stop.
Well,
stop.
a great example of me showing restraint is actually, it is, but it isn't because I became passive aggressive, but, was, one of my the last video store I worked at, the last review that I got, I had really hoped to get promoted. And at the end of it, they basically didn't say anything about it. And I was like, so what about, me maybe being promoted? And basically the way my review went was you'd swear it was a bargaining session on like Pawn Stars. Someone will bring in something really good, like you've busted your butt the whole time, all this, and they'll go, yeah, but that one time your socks didn't match and blah, blah, blah. The best we can do is give you you did okay. And you're like, bull, like I know I am a better employee than a lot of people here and I deserve better than that kind of a thing. So that's what it went like. And then at the end when I was like, but it was fine up until I said that about a manager. Then they started like picking apart things and they were being very arbitrary with it because listen, I know it's going to sound arrogant, but I was a really good employee. Like I didn't break the rules generally. I held everyone to the rules, So it's like, it's hard to really find stuff on me. I was, I stayed over. I filled in when someone else, couldn't be there. If someone wasn't late to a shift, I'd, all this stuff. So they're coming up with just the most ridiculous stuff. And then the GM or the store manager goes, it was the GM and district manager. And he's like, hopefully after this, we'll see a new Brian. And I was like, you sure will.
A no Brian.
Yeah. And I went from being exemplary Brian to meets expectations Brian because that's, and he was, I wasn't wrong, but it was all a passive aggressive move. I I didn't take it. He was hoping to motivate me, but the problem was he didn't understand I was already I'm already more motivated than anyone you have. And you're treating me like I need motivation, and I don't. What I needed was
validation.
What was that?
Validation.
Yes.
You needed validated for your work.
The best way he could have motivated me was to even if he didn't make me assistant manager, go, well, we're not going to do that right now, but here's a raise, like a good raise. But the problem was I was already making way more than all the other assistant managers, and I wasn't even an assistant manager. So yeah, it's like, why are you paying me better than them, but you won't give me, anyway, a whole other story. But the idea was, in that moment, I grew. And the way I grew might not seem like it to people, but what I did was realize I'm giving everything I have to this place, and I'm getting nothing in return. It's time to stop giving every bit of me to this place. It's time to stop giving all my free time to this place. So what I did by growing there is I learned to set boundaries. And from that point on, if I had something else going, if I didn't feel like coming in, nah. Sorry, I can't come in. I did the same thing everybody else did. And I didn't care because it felt really good to set those boundaries. And that's a very important thing. So super long story here. The reason I wanted to bring it up was because even though I grew, the way I grew was in spite of them, but it was still growth because, like I said, it really did help me set boundaries that I had not set for years. They had come to expect that anytime they called, I'd pick up the phone. I'd be there. I'd always save their butts. But when I asked for a little something, they couldn't come to me. They couldn't meet me. So then I was like, okay, well, I guess if this is what you're saying you're bringing to the table, I'll match that and set that boundary. And honestly, going forward, any job I have or anything like that, I set boundaries. I won't do it. If there's something I don't want to do, I won't do it now. I've learned very much that the word no is my answer, and that is something people have to accept. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
All right. Well, what do you think, guys? We good?
It's a show.
It's something.
Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of information tonight, a lot of really great stories, and I know you have things on your mind that you would like to share with us. So, if you'd like to continue the conversation, you know what to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. You can reach me direct through the Twitters. You can reach me at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with the G. And Henno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. Find me on Facebook and Instagram and all those other places if you look for my name, Henno Heiter. And if you want to check out my other podcast, Moving the Needle podcast, we just released our, I guess it would be a pet film, Spy, which was the Melissa McCarthy comedy from a few years back. And we had 5 of us on that episode, so it was pretty fun.
Oh wow, that's
3 dudes and 2 ladies, and there's a lot of laughs, and it was, and there was a little bit of a twist on some of the opinions. So,
all right,
that sounds cool.
Yeah. All right, well, you can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. And that show's not safe for work. It's just me and my best friend yammering on about a bunch of stuff that we noticed in life. Like this week, I watched a movie called Alan Quartermain in the Lost City of Gold or something like that. And I discussed how terrible it was. We talked about Rock'em Sock'em Robot
stinker
movie. Yeah. We watched the Shang-Chi teaser, and so we're just kind of all over the place, but we just talk about whatever we notice in life, pop culture, whatever. So so if that tickles your fancy, please check us out. You can also find this show on Twitter at at Crazy Life Pod. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And if you're looking to start your own show, Mark over there is really good about helping people starting and helping them get going. So, please contact him if you're looking to start a show. Am I forgetting anything? All the stuff's in the show notes also, like all of our social media links and everything. So if you forgot or don't remember or too lazy to, write things down, look while you're listening, we got you covered there. And of course, if you need help, please reach out. There's tons of people out there willing to help you, even during these weird months that we've been going through. So please please reach out if you need help, and please check on your friends, make sure they're doing okay. And I saw a thing on Twitter the other day I thought was kind of cool, which was to like pick someone either in your phone contact list or like on your social media, like on your DMs list or something like that. Like somebody maybe you haven't reached out to in a long time and just check in on them, just see how they're doing. It's amazing how in the last week I've learned about 3 people that I've kind of known on social media that have passed away. One was by suicide. The others were of other causes. And it's weird how, social media allows so much for people to be a huge part of your life and then no part of your life so quickly. So, please check in on people, especially, like I said, the ones maybe you haven't talked to online in a while or something like that, or just friends in your real life that you haven't talked to in a while. And of course, please be kind to one another. Please share, or please help when you can, all that kind of stuff. It's just, there's just so much of us so many people out there that keep wanting to keep putting bad energy out there. So, just please don't be one of those people. Just try to put out good out there, and hopefully you'll see it reciprocated. It's always seemed to work pretty well for me. It's how I was raised. So just be nice, dang it.
All right. Well, everybody go out there and have the best week you possibly can have. And remember, keep wiggling those toes.